Okay, so we're going to work with our core structure today and a little bit of anatomy here. We spent a lot of time in our meditation focusing on our breath. And I want to point out that the diaphragm is that upper abdomen, okay, just under the ribs, and that is part of your core. So your breathing muscle is part of your core strength. So imagine your core as this 3D structure. We have a top, we have a bottom, it's got sides, a front, and a back. So that diaphragm is the top of your core. And your diaphragm has two jobs. It needs to help you breathe, and it needs to help you balance. And it should be able to do both of these things at the same time. If we're not breathing deep into our diaphragm, then we're making our body choose between letting us breathe and balancing. So that means if you find when you need to hold a position or to balance in something, you have to hold your breath. And as soon as you go to take that breath, you lose your balance. Right? So think about that maybe when you're going to pick up a heavy object. What are you asking your body to do? Sacrifice the breath and the balance, or can it do both at the same time? Okay? Or the third or fourth or fifth round and maybe some higher intensity activities. Okay, so we're going to play around with that a little bit. So I want you to place your hand on that diaphragm, so just below below the ribs, above the belly button. And your other hand is going to go on your chest. And I want you to take a deep inhale through your nose. Breathing into the diaphragm, you should feel that expand. Feel those ribs expand. And as you exhale, feel that diaphragm push the air out. The hand on the chest should be nice and quiet. There should be no movement here. So inhale through the nose and expand the diaphragm. Exhale, use the diaphragm to push that air out. Excellent. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. So as we go through some of these core strengthening movements, I want you to focus on your breath. And I want you to pay attention when we're moving or when we're holding. What's happening with that breath? Are you holding your breath in order to stabilize, or can you continue to breathe while you balance? Okay, so pay attention to that breath. Tap back into that. We're going to do some floor work and some crawling patterns. Again, our core structure is 3D, so through these crawling patterns, we're going to hit that breath point that I'm talking about, the top of our core, our pelvic floor, which is at the bottom of our core. We've got what we know as our six-pack muscles. That's going to be in the front. Our obliques, okay, your sides, and then actually your spine, okay, and your backside is part of your core as well. And this is something that gets greatly ignored when it comes to core strengthening movements. So things like planks and sit-ups, they're not really representative of what's asked of our body throughout a day. Posture is something that is demanded from us on a daily basis, right, is to keep ourselves upright. It can help with our balance. It can help with our walking. It can relieve pressure on our hips and our feet and all kinds of things. So our mid-back here and our spine is going to be a big part of holding our structure and our body up, and that is part of your core strength. So the more stable and strong we are in the center here, all the way around 360 degrees, the easier it is for our arms to do some really cool things, for our legs to do some really cool things, and to feel strong and supported in our body. And usually that relates to a sense of strength in our mind and in our spirit. So that sense of self-esteem and your personal power. So that's the idea I want us to move with today. So we are going to do some floor work, and we're going to spend some time kind of crawling around. So I do want to get your wrists warmed up for that. If at any time you feel like this is too much pressure for your wrists, then you just take breaks as you need and back off. And I'll give some modifications along the way as much as I can. So just go ahead and kind of twist them around. Maybe do some finger flicks. Yeah. Like you're flicking water off of your hands. You can do that in different directions. If you want to get the elbows and the shoulders involved, you can straighten the arms out as you do it. The overhead. Good. Then bring those hands together, and I want you to start to make waves with your wrist. Excellent. And since we are talking about both sides of our brain and being able to communicate and coordinate there, I want you to reverse your wave and just see how easy was it to change directions. Whichever way you started was probably the way you were more comfortable with, but you've got both sides to play with both sides. Excellent. Good. Go ahead and twist them around. All right, so we're going to roll over into a tabletop position here, or at least relaxing back on the feet and the knees. So If this is too much pressure for you, you could also do this standing up. If being in this position, if you have any knee injuries, you could stand up and do this over like a table. You could do it against the wall. You could put a little cushion underneath you if you wanted some support there. Or you can rest down on your heels or your toes, whatever you're comfortable with, okay? As we get into the wrists, the closer they are to your knees, to the center of your body, the less pressure you're going to feel on them. The further away they are, the more pressure you're going to feel on them, okay? So we're going to start with fingers nice and wide. And a little bit about where we want to feel this pressure is between the thumb, the pointer finger, and the pinky, okay? So arches in the hands, that's what we want to focus on. Mainly putting the pressure through our pointer finger here. You'll find that a lot of times we relieve the pressure there, which allows the elbows to start compensating and bending for us. It puts a little extra pressure on the inside of the wrist, and you'll find that it's really heavy on the heel of the hand, putting that pressure on the inside of the wrist here. So anytime you feel like that inside finger is starting to lift up, I want you to just refocus and press back down through that pad underneath your pointer finger, okay? So that's going to be like your home base for this movement, okay? All right, so we're going to place the hands to the floor. And again, choose your distance of whatever feels right for those wrists, okay? And we're just going to keep the shoulders stacked on top of the wrist. Elbows are going to stay nice and straight. I want you to think about twisting that elbow pit forward so that it faces towards your fingers. My elbows extend extra far, so if yours don't look like mine, that's fine, as long as your elbow is straight. And if my elbows freak you out, I'm sorry. Little side view here. So rather than the elbows facing inward where they can bend out, I want you to twist them forward, point them forward so that they aim to the front and our elbows don't bend here. And we're just going to move in circles over the top of the wrist. And change direction. Feel all those points, all those pads underneath the fingers, especially that one on the pointer as you rotate through. Good. Go ahead and relax, shake them out a little bit, twist around. Go ahead and place those hands back down to the mat. And again, closer they are to the knees, the easier it is. Further away, tougher it is. And I want you to keep all of your fingers in contact with the floor. And what we're going to do is we're just going to lift the heel of the hand off of the floor. So just that palm. So fingers are all pressed to the floor and the heels of the hands are up. And when we come back down, they're going to move at the same speed, both sides, nice and slow, back to the ground. Elbows stay straight all the way through this movement. Lift up the heel of the hand. Keep those elbow pits facing forward. Relax the hands back to the floor at the same speed. You're going to feel this one really deep on the inside of that wrist. Lift up, press the fingers nice and wide into the floor. Lower down nice and slow. We're going to go one more. Go ahead and lift, press the fingers. And lower with control, elbow pits forward. Good. Shake it off. We're going to come into a fist. Okay? So fist just below the shoulder again. We always want to keep that shoulder stacked on top of that wrist here when we're doing these. And this time we're going to roll to the back of the wrist. I'm going to allow my elbows to bend out to the side and drop my chest forward. And then push into the back of the wrist, roll back up into a fist. Roll to the back of the wrist, let the elbows flare out, drop the chest, try to keep your chin above your hands, press into that wrist, back up into a fist. Let's go one more. Roll to the back of the hands. Good. Push back up through the wrist, into a fist. Good. Shake it out. Shakes up and down. We've got our wrists warmed up, and let's do just a little bit with our shoulders here. Okay, we're going to be putting some work up into the top of our spine, the middle of our back, so let's get our shoulders fired up. So I want you to extend your arms out to the side here, and I'm going to reach to my right side here, and I'm going to flip my palm up. My left hand, I'm going to flip my palm up by rotating my shoulder inward. Okay, so inward rotation here on my shoulder, internal rotation, palms back up, and then we're going to switch to the other side. So I'm rotating, reaching with one arm, and rotating with the other arm. Okay? Get that shoulder joint to move inwards and back out, inwards and back out. Let's go one more time each side. Excellent. Keeping those elbows straight. Good. And then while you're in this position here, I want you to use one hand to support you off to the side. And then your other hand, I want you to just kind of toss it around, reach in different ways. You can bend to the side. Maybe you reach behind you a little bit. Maybe you reach out in front. Just start to wake up some of that mid-back, upper back. You can kind of twist and reach behind you. Good. And this next one, I want you to plant your left hand outside of your hip. You can see me here. And then with your right arm, I want you to just reach up and just let it kind of fall over to the side, okay? And now this left shoulder, I want to pull it down away from my ear. So I don't want this shoulder to be shrugged up to my ear. I'm going to pull it down. And this right arm is just going to fall over the top, okay? I'm not holding onto my neck. I'm not tugging anything forward. I'm just going to let it relax wherever it wants to. And then from here, I'm going to take a big inhale and expand in those right side ribs. And as I exhale, I'm going to drop my elbow towards my knee and come back up. So your elbow may not make contact with the knee, and that's totally fine. You're just dropping it in that direction. So inhale, expand in the right side ribs. Exhale, bend that right elbow towards the knee. And you can bend in that supporting arm elbow as well. Inhale through the right ribs. Twist that elbow towards the knee. And exhale. Good. And go for this one as many times as you like. It feels really great. Switch sides. Right hand to the side of the hip. Left arm is going to fall up and over behind the head. And from here again, push that shoulder down away from the ear. Take a nice big inhale into those left side ribs. And then exhale, elbow towards the knee. Inhale, lift up. Inhale into those ribs. Exhale, twist the elbow towards the knee. So left elbow towards the right knee. Inhale, make some space in the ribs. Exhale, twisting that elbow towards the knee. And you might find that you get to reach a little bit further with every exhale. Good. Shake it out, roll those shoulders. A few neck rolls. Excellent. All right, we're going to come over into some crawling positions here. So contralateral is our focus today, which means opposite sides are going to start communicating, so both sides of the brain there. So it means when my right hand is moving, my left leg is going to be moving with it, okay? When my left hand is going to be moving, my right leg is going to be moving with it, okay? So what we're going to focus on first, we're going to come into bear crawl position or a tabletop position, okay? I'm not really worried about how far back the hips are or anything like that. However much pressure you can handle in your wrist, you can go for that there. But here, I just want us to start to play with that contralateral movement. So when my right hand lifts up, my left leg should lift up as well. And you can lift just the toe, the knee, whatever you've got room for there. Opposite side. So left hand, right foot. Good. And I want you to focus on lifting them up off the ground at the same time and placing them back down on the ground at the same time. And I want you to do this with as much stability as you can in the core, so without really tilting and tipping side to side. It's just nice and slow, nice and gentle. Lifting opposites off the ground at the same time. And then when you're ready, you can start to travel forward. So left hand and right knee are going to move forward, and then right hand, left knee are going to move forward. When you get to the edge of your mat or your space that you're in, you're going to reverse it. Or you could stand up and flip yourself around. So opposite hand and opposite knee are moving forward. If you want to add a little extra challenge here, you can lift the knees just an inch or so off of the ground. So it's just the toes and the hands in contact. And same idea. They come off the ground and on the ground at the same time. Forwards and backwards. Opposite hand, opposite foot. If that's a little too much, you can extend those hips up. Go for a little A-frame crawl here. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Everything stays the same. Opposite hand, opposite foot, traveling forwards and backwards together. Good. Give yourself a little break. Shake out the wrists. So bear crawl, A-frame crawl. Working that contralateral movement. It's great for the brain. Okay. We're going to play with a couple of kick throughs in our bear crawl position here. So we're going to start to, again, get into sides of our core. Don't forget to breathe. Get that stability in that diaphragm, okay? So in here, depending on, again, condition of the knees and the mobility that we have in the hips, you can modify this however you need to. So whether the knees stay in contact with the floor or you're able to lift them up, I want you just to kind of explore and play here and see what works best for your body. It doesn't have to look exactly like what I'm doing. The main idea here is that I'm getting opposite sides to communicate. So if you want to stick around and playing with the crawling patterns while we do this, go right ahead. If you're ready to move on, here we go. So I'm going to come into that bear crawl position with my knees hovering just above the ground. And I'm going to pick up opposite hand and opposite foot at the same time. Okay? Get really stable here. Pause for a second at the top. Make sure you have control. Bring it back down. Okay? And the next one, I'm going to take my left hand and right leg up at the same time. And I'm going to kick my leg through. Okay? Hand is released, leg is kicked through, and then I'm going to come back into my tabletop position. Again, make sure you're grounding on that pointer finger with those wrists. So left hand, right leg, lift, kick through. Return to bear crawl. Left hand, right leg, we're going to stay on the same side, kick through. Back to bear crawl, one more. Left hand, right leg, kick through. Back to bear crawl. Go ahead and relax. Shake it out. We're going to do 3 more on the other side. If you're ready to continue, lift up. We're going to go right hand, left leg. Lift and rotate and back down. Good. Right hand, left leg. Kick. Back down. One more time. Lift right hand, left leg. Kick through. Back to your bear crawl and relax. Good. Shake the hands out. You can play a fun game with that one. You can kick the leg in different directions. Maybe you have a partner, somebody to give you a little target of where to aim your foot. Starting to breathe a little heavy. Okay? So, those are our bear crawl movements that we're going to do today. We're also going to explore some crab movements on that back side of the core a little bit here. And then we're going to work on putting those two together. Okay? So for our crab movements here, I want you to come to your seat. And then feet, I want just outside the hips a little bit, okay? And hands are going to be placed behind you. And now here, if I relax back, my shoulders shrug up to my ears, okay? I want to push my shoulders down away from my ears. And when I do that really powerfully, pushing through that pointer finger pad, my hips are going to lift just an inch or so off of the mat, okay? So I'm going to lower down, those shoulders shrug up. If I pull those shoulders down my back, press into the floor, my hips will lift up. So I want us to be working it through the shoulders rather than lifting the hips up into the position, okay? So just work here with your shoulders. Maybe you're just working on that depression motion here without letting the elbows bend. Can you get those shoulders to sneak up to the ears and push back down? When you feel a little bit stronger, you can push hard enough that those hips will lift up off the ground with you. Good. And let's hold that next one at the top of those hips lifted. And we're going to go opposite arm and opposite leg again. So left foot, right hand are going to rise up off the floor and come back down. Good. Relax if you need to in between. Press into the floor, lift those hips. We're going to go right leg, left hand this time. Ooh, off the floor. I'm not grounded on my right side. Carpet messed me up. And back down. Good. We'll go one more time each side. Press down into those shoulders. Lift, right hand, left leg. Back down. Lift, right leg, left hand, back down. Good. One more time each side. Lift, balance, back down. Lift, balance, back down. Cool. All right. Give those wrists a little shake if you need to. we are going to work on flipping from that crab position back into our bear position, back and forth, okay? So again, press into those shoulders, drop those shoulders down, press into the hands, lift those hips up. We're gonna go with left foot, right hand first. So I'm gonna lift them up off the ground. My left leg is gonna sneak under me. My right hand is gonna come over the top, and I'll find myself in that bear position. Same side, I'm gonna go right hand, left leg are gonna lift up, and I'm gonna flip back into my crab position. Okay, stick with the same side. Left foot, right hand, lift, sneak the leg under, hand over the top. We're in our bear crawl. Right hand, left leg, lift, place it back down. We're in our crab. So play with this back and forth as smooth as you can. And again, if you want to rest those knees to the floor in between, and you just want to work on a smooth transition from one side to the other, you can modify this however you need to. Yeah? Sneaking that leg under, hand over the top. Let's go to our other side. So we're going to go with our left hand, switch here so you can see it. Sorry, left foot, right hand. To press the shoulders, lift up. Leg is going to come under. Hand is going to switch on top. Good. Back to your crab. Right leg is going to sneak under the body, left hand over the top, into the bear, back into our crab. Lift the hand and foot, switch, and reverse. Lift the hand and foot and switch, and reverse. Good. Come back down to the floor. Shake those wrists out. Okay, so we've switched from side to side, and now we're going to go continuous rotations from one side to the next. So go ahead and start in your bear crawl position. We're going to go right hand and left leg first, so lifting, twisting into our crab, and now we're going to go opposite hand and foot to complete that circle. So it's going to be left hand, right foot come up, twist back into the crab. Right hand, left foot. Right foot, left hand or next. Good. You get the idea. We're going in the circle. Good. From that crab to that bear crawl, and then let's reverse it and come to the other side. Kind of move about the room. See how smooth we are, how soft our contact is with the floor, from our feet and our hands, and play around with your newfound core strength movements. Tricks on you. It's really total body. So some fun little movements down on the floor can be a really great training tool for that core stability and strength. If you really struggled with knees and switching through in there, you can do a similar movement that's going to work both sides of the brain and the body by coming down to your back. Arms and legs up to the center. I've got about a 90-degree bend in my knees. Okay, and from here I can go right hand and left leg are going to extend away from each other and come back to center. Left hand, right leg, extend away from each other, come back to center. Really want you to focus, this is where the core strength comes in. Pull the bottom of your back, those low back bones, into the floor. Keep contact with that low back to the floor throughout this movement. So, breathing and stabilizing at the same time. Reaching opposite arm and leg away from one another and back to the center. Keep pressing that low back into the floor. Reach away, come back. Opposite sides, moving together. Yeah? A little modification to the crawling, okay? So, build up some of that wrist strength to help support some of these movements. Always start with warming those up first, some of the shoulders, a little bit of the spine, and then get crazy crawling around the floor. Maybe you try doing those patterns crawling laterally, side to side, rather than forwards and backwards, whatever challenge you're up for. And that's a good introduction to those two positions, which can sneak into a lot of cool animal flow type movements and patterns if you've seen anything like that. So thank you guys for joining the core strength and third chakra meditation today. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you find some new movements to play around with.